Hi everyone, welcome to the third webinar of a series of webinars conducted by TCS Online in lieu of the upcoming management case study examinations happening in May and August 2022. In our first webinar, I took you through exam prep. I highlighted what you need to do before the pre-scene is released, what type of techniques you need to focus on with regards to revising syllabus content and whatnot, and how you are supposed to prepare before the exam, as well as what you're supposed to do during when writing your answers for the exam. So these parts were covered in our first webinar. In the second webinar, I've conducted a pre-scene analysis taking you through the annotated pre-scene TCS Online has prepared. Okay, so in that I highlighted about industry dynamics as well as company operations of our chosen company, which is piping. And in this third webinar, I will be talking about answering technique, because as I've highlighted in my previous webinars, just knowing the pre-scene or just knowing or having an idea about industry dynamics won't help you. You need to know how to write proper answers, especially if you are coming through the gateway route or the finance leadership program or FLP route. Since these are considered as exemption routes, you need to know how to provide answers and how to structure answers. And this is an area where most students lack an understanding about. So because of that, I thought it's better if I do a webinar and highlight how you are supposed to come up with appropriate answer structures, and based on that end up providing better answers and getting better marks at your exam. So having said that, let's look at the session outcomes. The session is divided into two main areas. First things first, I'll be talking about what you need to focus upon as part of answering technique. There are several best practices which you need to adhere to, and I'm going to talk about it in the first part of this session. And in the second part of this session, I will be taking you through a mini mock which is prepared by TCS, and based on this mini mock, I'll be highlighting the suggested answers. And before I take you through the suggested answers, I would highlight how to come up with something called an answer plan or an answer structure. Okay, so these are the session outcomes for tonight. So let's look at first things first. Let's look at answering techniques, what you need to adhere to when providing answers at your exam. So you are supposed to use appropriate headings and subheadings when providing answers. So the examiner has stipulated that you need to come up with headings and subheadings. You need to use main headings as well as subheadings, and there's a specific format which you need to adhere to when coming up with these headings. Your main headings should be bold and underlined, and your subheadings should be in bold format. Okay, so when I'm taking you through the suggested answer, you'd realize what you're supposed to do with regards to or what type of headings, the formatting and whatnot, with regards to the type of headings you are supposed to provide in the exam. And when you're providing answers, you are supposed to provide answers in paragraphs. You can't use bullet points. The examiner discourages you to use bullet points or single-lined sentences. Instead, every time you are highlighting a certain answer point, you need to write it in a paragraph, and a typical paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 sentences, nothing more, nothing less. Okay, so you need to adhere to these guidelines, because if you do, then you there's a tendency for you to get 1 or 2 additional marks at your exam, because although you are taking 3 hours to complete the entire paper, the individual who's gonna mark your paper takes about just below 10 minutes to mark your paper. So in such a context, if you write all your answers in one single paragraph, if you do not stick to the guidelines provided by the examiner, you are not actually helping the invigilator. So the examiner asks you to come up with a paragraph per answer point. Let's assume that for a certain question, you are supposed to provide 10 answer points. So if there are 10 valid answer points which you are trying to highlight in the answer, you need to have at least 10 paragraphs. So for each answer point, you need to have a paragraph. So if you're highlighting 10 answer points, then you need to have 10 paragraphs in your answer. And when you provide answers in paragraphs, the invigilator's life becomes easy because the invigilator, when marking your paper, is involved with something called speed reading. So in speed reading, what we do is rather than going through the entire answer word by word, we have the ability of picking main points provided in the answer, picking the main words highlighted in the answer. Based on that, we can figure out the content of the paragraph. So when you want to bring out 10 answer points, when you come up with 10 paragraphs, then the invigilator can easily allocate you marks, because the invigilator can easily spot the points which you have made under each and every paragraph. However, in my CIMA tutoring career, I've seen students who write the entire answer in one single paragraph or just 2 paragraphs. So let's assume that you write your entire answer in one single paragraph. In such a context, what happens is the invigilator's life becomes so uneasy, because the invigilator will find it extremely hard to pick out points from your answer. So when the invigilator sees one single paragraph being provided, you are creating a negative attitude in the mind of the invigilator, and you might end up losing 2 or 3 marks, because it's better to help the invigilator. It's better to create a positive mindset when somebody is invigilating your answer, so that you can gain extra 2 or 3 marks. Okay, so the examiner wants you to use paragraphs and headings and subheadings, as well as paragraphs. So please adhere to that, and you'd understand how you are supposed to use these paragraphs per the points which you are bringing forth, when I'm taking you through the suggested answer, as well as I said I'll be talking about answer structuring, or I mentioned about something called answer plans. So when I'm doing answer plans, you'd realize what I'm talking about. And uh, most students are really concerned about the word count, because I've seen so many students who believe that you need to write chunks and chunks of answers, or paragraphs and paragraphs of answers. Okay, so ideally the examiner tells you that your word count per 45-minute task, per each task, needs to be between 650 to 700 words. Okay, so there's absolutely no point of you providing 1500 word answers for each task if it is not relevant to the question highlighted at your exam. So just do not think too much about the word count, because when you are structuring your answers, when you are coming up with answer plans, if you adhere to the methodology which I'm going to highlight in a while, then you need not worry too much about the word count, because if you do your answer structuring or answer planning properly, then unknown to you, when you start typing the answer, you'd end up typing an answer which goes on for 650 to 700 words. Okay, so don't be too bogged down with getting your word count right. If you do your answer planning appropriately, if you structure your answer appropriately, then you'd stick to this word limit without you even knowing about it. Okay, and when managing your time now, as you know, CIMA is a time pressured exam. CIMA, especially the case studies, are extremely time pressured exams. So you need to know how to manage your timing appropriately. So out of the 45 minutes provided to you, 1/3 of your time should be provided for reading and planning. I said about answer structuring or answer plans. So you have to first read the question, then come up with an answer structure or an answer plan, which will take which will take 15 to 20 minutes of your time. And the remaining time, which is 25 to 30 minutes, the remaining time can be allocated towards typing the answers. So what I've seen in most students is students are conversant with a system where they read the question twice maybe, and straight away, without having an appropriate plan, straight away they start typing answers, and halfway through the answer most students realize that they are headed in the wrong direction. Most students realize that they have not addressed the needs of the tasks. Instead they have written something else, some other answer. In such a context, what happens is, once students realize it, they end up deleting the entire answer and starting from scratch again. So by that time the student knows that he or she has spent so much time typing an unnecessary answer. So that's a time wastage. Because of that, students go into panic mode. So usually students go into panic mode from task number 1 itself. So um, halfway through the answer for task number 1, you realize that you are giving the wrong answer. You end up deleting it and you start retyping the answer, and in the back of your mind you know that you had wasted your time, and because of that you panic. And this unsettling attitude is brought forward when attempting the other tasks as well, and you end up screwing up the entire examination. So don't do that. You are not supposed to do that. You are supposed to relax both before the exam as well as during the exam. And how can you relax? If you stick to what I am highlighting tonight, the methodologies which I'm highlighting tonight, then definitely you can relax before the exam and during the exam. Okay, so the best practice is, rather than reading the question and straight away trying to type answers, you need to spend 15 to 20 minutes of your time to structureize your answer or to come up with an answer plan. That's quality time which you are spending to think, evaluate, and build arguments. Once you have a structure, once you know what type of answers you are supposed to provide, the remaining time, which is 25 to 30 minutes, can be spent towards simply typing the answers. Okay, you'd realize what these things are and how to do it later on when I'm taking you through the mini mock and suggested answer. And when it comes to the typing speed, the expected typing speed is a minimum of 20 words per minute, so please be mindful about that. Then looking at the time allocations as well as the mark allocations, weightage for each requirement is provided as per time allocated. So when you are going through your questions, under each task you would see 2 or 3 subtasks. Okay, so under each subtask a certain percentage or a weightage is provided. So this weightage gives you an indication about how many marks are allocated for each task and each subtask, and how much of time you can spend on each subtask. Okay, so I'll be highlighting these points later on. You'd realize what I'm talking about when I take you through the suggested answer. So based on the weightage, if the weightage of a certain subtask stipulates 50 percentage weightage, what it means is, out of the total mark for the task, 50% is allocated for subtask number 1, and out of the total time allocation, 50% of your time should be spent on subtask number 1. Okay, so that's that. And do not spend time on formatting, such as a paragraph alignment and whatnot, because the examiner is not too concerned about these things. Just be mindful about the headings and the subheadings, the formatting pertaining to headings and subheadings, as well as providing answers in paragraphs. Other than that, you need not concern yourself too much about formatting. And remember, it's always about the quality of the points which you make, not the quantity. I highlighted this point in our first webinar as well. The invigilators are strictly instructed to provide answers for quality, not for quantity. So that's exactly why I said you should not be too concerned about the word count of each and every answer which you are providing. Instead, focus on getting your answer planning right. Spend some time to think straight then start typing your answers because the examiners will be providing marks based on quality, not quantity. Then when developing answers, what are you supposed to do? These are the steps which you need to adhere to. Step number one is you have to read the scenario first. So you have to read it once, and if you feel that you did not understand a certain area, I would expect you to read it twice. Read the scenario once or twice to really understand that. Then after reading the scenario, you have to plot the requirements into subheadings and headings. Okay, so I said you need to use appropriate headings and subheadings. So usually the CIMA examiner wants you to come up with headings for each subtask. So for instance, let's assume in one of the tasks, in task number 1, there are 2 areas in your question or 2 subtasks, and for each subtask you need to come up with a main heading, and under each main heading, if you are highlighting main points, you can end up using subheadings appropriately. I'll highlight these points later on when I'm doing the evaluation of the mock. Okay, so you have to plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. That's your second step. Third step is invest time to understand the requirement clearly. So you need to first read the requirement, based on that come up with headings and subheadings. Then again try to figure out what the requirements are. Try to understand the requirements appropriately. And after you understand the requirement, what you need to do is you need to come up with your answer plans or answer structures. So a maximum of 1/3 of your time can be allocated towards answer planning. So I would suggest that you spend some time, 15 to 20 minutes. So you can take 5 minutes to read the scenario and understand it appropriately. And you can use 10 to 15 minutes to develop an answer structure. Okay, and when developing this answer plan or the answer structure, try to figure out whether you are fulfilling the requirements highlighted in the question, and on top of that, whether you are adding value to your answer based on the type of points which you have made in your answer structure. Okay, so that's that. And when developing this answer plan, certain students do it on the scratch pad. I will not suggest you to do it. Instead, it's better if you can do your answer structure or answer plan on the answer screen itself. And once you have the answer structure or the answer plan, then the last step is to expand the points which you have mentioned in the answer plan. So when coming up with an answer plan, you have to provide information, or you have to basically come up with answers in a summarized or a concise manner. And once you have the structure, the remaining time, 25 to 30 minutes, should be allocated towards expanding the points. So your answer plan is the skeleton of your answer, and when you are typing the answer, you flesh out this skeleton, thereby providing fully fledged answers. So that's what you need to do with regards to developing answers. And there may be students who have attempted MCS before and who had failed this time or last time actually. So you need to figure out what you need to do this time in order to overcome issues pertaining to the MCS exam. So you need to figure out whether you gave your best last time. So you need to do your own personal reflection. You need to figure out whether you spent enough time for preparation, because as you know, from the time of the pre-scene release up until the exam, there is 6 weeks. So you need to have an appropriate plan about what you do within these 6 weeks. You need to come up with a study plan. Okay, so maybe you did not stick to a study plan last time. When you did the exam, you tried to complete all your preparatory work within within 2 weeks or 1 week. That's not enough time. The examiner has given you 6 weeks, but you had wasted your time, and closer to the exam you go into panic mode and you prepare halfway through and you end up failing the exam. Or else when preparing, you just attempted 1 or 2 mocks, So you can't pass the exam by attempting 1 or 2 mocks. I've highlighted this fact in webinar number 1 as well. The examiner, in the examiner's report, which is published after every case study, the examiner has specifically mentioned that students are supposed to do practice mock exams. Okay, so we are offering 5 mock exams at TCS. So you might be wondering why you need to do 5 mock exams. It's better if you can attempt all 5, because we have taken care to cover all syllabus areas pertaining to E2, F2 and P2 within our questions. Okay, so if you do these 5 mock exams, it's as if you are going through, or you are revising all syllabus content which can be tested in your real exam. Okay, so if you did not do your preparatory work last time properly, if you did not attempt enough mock exams, I suggest that you do it this time. And on top of that, you might be a student who is not too conversant with self-studies, carrying out self-studies, or you are not too successful when carrying out self-studies. So that could have been your downfall last time. If that was the case, I would suggest that you go for personalized, mentoring and feedback. And when you are providing answers, it's better if you can send it to a tutor, so that the tutor can provide you with personalized feedback. Okay, so these are the things which you need to think about. You need to do your own personal reflection to figure out what you did do and what you didn't do. So I would suggest you to watch our first webinar if you had missed out on it, and I would suggest you to rewatch this webinar if needed, to actually figure out what had gone wrong. And on top of that, via our website, we provide you with extremely beneficial blog posts. So go through our blogs. In one of our blogs, I've highlighted if you had failed last time, what you need to do, the common mistakes practiced by CIMA students, and how you can overcome each mistake. And likewise, there are so many blog posts within our blog, so please go through these areas. And you need to figure out, so after you do your personal reflection, you need to figure out where did you go wrong in the exam, what you did wrong in the exam. You need to diagnose the reasons first and address this time. Yes, so definitely you need to figure out what went wrong last time. You can't keep doing the same mistakes over and over again, because if you do that, you will end up failing this time's exam as well. So after figuring out what went wrong, you need to come up with solutions for every area where you went wrong last time. Refer to the mini mock and suggested answers as well as the examiner's report. So that's exactly why I said asked you to go through webinar number 1 if you missed out on it. And in today's session, I'll be taking you through the mini mock and suggested answers. Then you'd figure out what type of answers you are supposed to provide. Then you are in a position to really understand what went wrong last time, or whether your answering technique was up to standard or not. And did you get feedback on your mocks in your last session? If not, if you ended up failing, I would suggest that you opt for that option, because it's better to get personalized feedback from your stipulated tutor. And after doing all these things, you need to come up with an action plan. I said there's a time duration of 6 weeks between the pre-scene release and your exam date. So you need to know how to allocate or how to utilize this time appropriately. Again, when developing your own action plan, I would suggest you to go through our blog posts, because I've highlighted what you need to do when it comes to coming up with a study plan, especially focused on CIMA case study examinations. So you need to determine yourself to work harder and smarter than the previous attempt. Okay, so what are the common deflections faced by CIMA students, especially when it comes to case study examinations? Most students overemphasize on the exam blueprint. I'm not suggesting that you do it too much, because the examiner, it's good to know what the examiner is telling, but overemphasis on the exam blueprint won't help you. It's gonna confuse you. So just stick to the plan which we are providing. Just go through our webinar number 1, where I highlighted the exam prep technique. So stick to that, then you need not worry too much. Okay. And I've seen so many students being bogged down with predictions. There's absolutely no point of doing that, because the examiner himself or herself has highlighted that no predictions can be made, because the examiner is simply trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So in a real life corporate environment, let's assume you go to office tomorrow. Before you go to office tomorrow, you don't know the type of problems which has occurred within the company. You can't predict what type of an email you'd get from your CFO or your finance director, or what type of an email you would get from your senior finance manager. You are supposed to play the role of a finance manager. As a finance manager, until you walk into office, you won't know what type of problems you'd have to encounter, and what type of solutions you would have to provide for each of these problems. So since the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment, um, there's absolutely no point of thinking about predictions. So don't go behind predictions. Don't rely too much on predictions, because as per the examiner, any area can be tested pertinent to E2, F2, or P2 related areas. Okay, so don't rely too much on predictions. And some students involve themselves excessively with industry analysis. Absolutely no point of doing that, because the examiner stipulates that you are not supposed to become, or you are not supposed to be an industry expert. I've highlighted this point in webinar number 1 as well. So just having the main points, or just having a rough idea about what type of an industry you are operating in would help you. Other than that, excessively doing additional reading and whatnot is not going to help you. So what we do at TCS is we provide a separate document called the industry analysis. And this document is in this document, we've highlighted the real life dynamics within your considered industry. So your industry is into tea manufacturing. So in that industry, we've considered the real life dynamics, and I've provided real life examples as well. Just going through that document will help you gain all the information about what you need to know, additional information about what you need to know about the industry. And on top of that, as part of the paid content, we have conducted 4 pre-scene analysis videos, and the first video is about an industry analysis. So just going through this video as well as the industry analysis slides would help you understand the main points which you need to remember or understand pertaining to industry analysis. So there's absolutely no point of doing excessive industry analysis. And most students face this problem where they do not know how to use past papers. Actually speaking, you cannot rely on past papers or the past exam variants too much, because these past exam variants are based on different case studies. So for instance, if the past variant which you referred to is applicable to a manufacturing firm, however, if your case study is based on a company in the service sector, then you can't rely too much on a past paper or a past exam variant which is based on some other sector. Okay, so it's of utmost importance that when attempting your mock exams, you attempt valid and quality mock exams, rather than just simply going through the past variants, because you can't pass if you go through past variants only. Okay, so misguided use of past papers. And on top of that, when attempting mock exams, we strongly recommend that you attempt 3-hour mock exams or fully fledged mock exams. A typical mock exam should consist of 4 main tasks. Okay, why I'm telling you this is it's better to accustom yourself with real life exam conditions rather than having to regret after you get your results. Okay, so at the exam, since you are getting a 3-hour paper which consists of 4 main tasks, your mock exams need to replicate the same scenario. When you're attempting your mock exams, you need to sit in one place for 3 hours at a stretch, just like what you do in the real exam. And the mock exams need to be exam standard. I've seen students doing attempting subtask by subtask, or just one task or 1 or 2 mocks. It's not going to help you. It's better if you stick to exam standard mock exams. It's better if you can replicate the exam conditions or exam environments when attempting your mock exams. And information overload is a problem as well. Why I'm telling you that information overload is a problem is because usually students they listen to their colleagues, they listen to several different tutors, and because of that, different people say different things. So your colleagues would say, you need to know your industry properly. Somebody would say you need to memorize the pre-scene. Someone might say, okay, when you are attempting mock exams, you have to memorize the suggested answers. Different types of people come up with different types of tips. So rather than listening to your colleagues, it's better if you can listen to someone who knows about the system, someone who has enough experience when it comes to CIMA exams. Okay, so rather than going for information, rather than experiencing information overload, which is gonna stress you out closer to the exam, just stick to the plan which I'm providing, because our pass rates stipulate that our system works. And if you stick to our system, you are not supposed to stress yourself too much. You are not supposed to spend too much time on your studies. You can pace out studies whilst maintaining work-life balance. Okay, so that's what you need to do. And before we move on to the second part of today's session, let me talk about the type of products which we are offering. We are offering 2 main products, and the first product is known as the Essential Pack. If you purchase the Essential Pack, you have access to all this content. You will have access to full pre-scene analysis videos. So as I've highlighted early on this session, we've already done 4 videos, and the first video consists of an industry analysis. The second and third videos highlight the internal dynamics of piping your considered company, and in the fourth video we've conducted a financial analysis based on the financial statements of piping as well as its closest competitor. So if you go through these 4 videos, you know the most important points which are highlighted in the pre-scene. Okay, and these videos are done based on an annotated pre-scene which we ourselves, our main tutors, our lead tutors had prepared. So just going through the annotated pre-scene, so you might have gone through the pre-scene document already, and you know that in the pre-scene document there's chunks and chunks of information. You need to know which information you need to remember and which information which is not too relevant to your exam. Okay, so as a student, you might not be in a position to decrypt all this information. So that's exactly why you need to use our annotated pre-scene, because in the annotated pre-scene, we have provided annotations, thereby bringing out the main points. We have made suggestions about certain syllabus areas which can be tested in your exam, as well as we have highlighted the type of scenarios which can be used or tested in your exam. Okay, so that's the annotated pre-scene. Then and if you need to know what this annotated pre-scene is about, I urge you to watch the last webinar which we did, webinar number 2, where I did a pre-scene analysis. So that's the same methodology which we are using when it comes to all 4 pre-scene analysis videos. Then, as I highlighted earlier, we have a separate set of slides pertaining to industry analysis, highlighting real life dynamics within your chosen industry, as well as highlighting real life examples. And the most important product is the 5 exam standard mock exams and suggested answers which we are providing. These 5 mock exams are prepared in a way to cover all syllabus content pertaining to E2, F2, and P2 related areas. And if you attempt these mock exams properly, if you go through the suggested answers and based on that make answer plans or answer structures, then that's what's necessary to get you through with the MCS exam. And there are a separate set of slides pertaining to financial analysis. Thereby, I've conducted horizontal analysis as well as ratio analysis based on piping's financial statements and its closest competitors' financial statements. And we have highlighted the top 10 likely scenarios or issues which can be tested in your exam. That's going to add some benefit to you. And if you are coming through the exemption route or the FLP route, you would want to know about the technicalities pertaining to the MCS exam. So that's why you need to go through the MCS familiarization kit, and you will have access to a WhatsApp discussion forum. And if you purchase our products, you get a pass guarantee as well. This pass guarantee is about a scenario where if you end up failing the exam after purchasing our products, it's highly unlikely that is going to happen because our pass rates are high. However, still, if you end up failing the exam, you would get access to the content or material which is relevant to the subsequent session. Okay, so that's the pass guarantee which we are providing. So the investment is going to be £99. So that's the essential pack. Then let's move on to the second product which we are offering, which is known as the value pack. The value pack consists of all what was discussed under the essential pack. In addition to the essential pack, you will gain access to our own online mock exam platform. So, when doing your real exam, you are supposed to use the Pearson VUE system. So it is better to get accustomed to an online mock exam platform, and that's exactly what we are offering. So all 5 mocks, if you purchase the value pack, you can attempt all 5 mocks within the mock exam platform itself. Okay, so when you are attempting all your 5 mocks within the mock exam platform, you can get yourself accustomed with real exam conditions, and there's a timer. After 45 minutes, you will be redirected to the next question, and likewise. So it's better to understand the time pressure and be accustomed with real life exam conditions. And we are providing professional marking and feedback on 3 mocks. So mocks 3, 4, and 5, our lead tutors and evaluators are providing professional feedback and marking services. And I will show you a sample of what type of feedback, the type of feedback which we provide later on. Okay, so if you failed last time, or if you had struggled in your OTQ examinations, or if you are coming through the gateway route, I suggest that you go for the value pack. Or if you are returning to CIMA studies after a prolonged study break, I suggest that you go for the value pack, because in all these instances, it's of utmost importance that you get feedback about your answers, because our tutors are hell-bent on highlighting the inefficiencies in your answer, so that you do not end up replicating the same mistakes in your real exam. And you would gain access to theory recaps pertaining to E2, F2, and P2 related areas. These theory recaps are concise and downloadable, so you need not go through several different material. Just going through our theory recaps will ensure that you know all the theoretical concepts and components pertaining to your examination. So the investment is going to be £199. Okay, so having said that, let's move on to the second part of today's session, which is about discussions carried out pertaining to the mini mock. So I'm using the mini mock, which has already been uploaded onto the free content under the free content tab. So if you had not checked out our free content, I urge you to do it. It's on our website. I'll tell you how to do it later on. Okay, so let's look at what type of paper this is. So, as I told you earlier, a typical examination, CIMA examination paper consists of 4 main tasks. However, since this is a mini mock, I've included only 2 main tasks. Okay, so each task carries a time allocation of 45 minutes. Okay, and under each task, there are 2 subtasks each according to this paper. And the weightages, I was talking about the weightages which can be used to determine the mark allocation as well as time allocation. So the weightages are provided, and they are highlighted in here within the question as well, the weightages. Okay, so first things first, let's move on to section number 1, a 45-minute question. Today is the morning of Monday, the 16th of May 2022. Your immediate supervisor, the senior finance manager, Chan De Silva, has sent you a text message and blah, 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 all that is happening. So your senior finance manager is sending you an email. I said that the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So that's exactly what you see here. So when you walk into office, your senior finance manager is sending you an email. And what is this email about? Mission infusion. So we need to figure out what this is all about. An individual known as Mole has presented quite a compelling case to the board on the growth in popularity in different flavor infused teas in certain countries around the world. So first things first, the examiner is highlighting the fact that we are trying to introduce a new product to the market, flavor infused teas to the market. At the moment, we are not doing it. Okay, just go through the pre-scene analysis video which we had done in as part of webinar number 2. It's under the free content. Then you'd realize that piping as a company is not too much into flavor infused teas as yet. So we are trying to develop a new product and introduce it into several markets, because it says we are trying to offer different flavor infused teas in certain countries around the world. So we are not just going to sell our flavor infused teas within our own country. We are going to sell it in multiple foreign countries as well. So in order to gain information about the nitty-gritties pertaining to this flavor infused tea production, or this new type of product category which we are going to introduce, you have to read through the attachment or the reference material. Okay, so let's try to figure out the information provided in the reference material. So information pertaining to a business case, which is titled as Mission Infusion, is provided. So infused tea industry. So first things first, you are provided information about the infused tea industry. This is also known as herbal tea. And how do you prepare it? You are supposed to pour hot water over plant matter such as dried leaves or berries. Wait for a period of time, which is called steeping. Then remove the plant matter before drinking. Okay, so that's how you consume flavor infused tea. Then it is also highlighted that flavor infused teas carries antioxidants and vitamins found in herbal teas are great for helping fight disease and infections, protect against oxidative stress, and lower the risk of chronic disease. Some of the best immune boosting herbal teas are elderberry, echinacea, ginger, and licorice root tea. So they have highlighted about various different types of flavor infused teas out there. Okay, and they are saying these teas are highly antioxidant, and they have highlighted certain benefits of consuming this tea. Now you need to connect this with the pre-scene, because in the pre-scene it is stipulated that you can't carry out promotional campaigns saying that antioxidants, because of an individual consuming tea, it will help anybody with fighting diseases and infections, protect against oxidative stress and lower the risk of chronic diseases. These claims are not proven. Customers believe these things, but these claims are not proven. Because of that, any player within the industry are not supposed to go to town with this information, or they are not supposed to publicize this information when advertising, because if you do that, you will be breaching the law within a certain country. So that has been highlighted in the pre-scene. So if you do not know your pre-scene properly, then you can't bring that point into your answer. So definitely, after I read this sentence, what comes into my mind is that you need to bring that point from the pre-scene into your answer. I'll highlight how you're supposed to do it later. Okay, so let's look at the proposed summary. Okay, provided by Mole. Adding these infused elements to our tea blends gives us more color and vibrancy to our overall portfolio. So this is an additional type of tea category or product category which we are adding to our existing product portfolio. A survey conducted across 3 of our main export market countries, such as Eastlandia, Westlandia, and Southlandia, have showcased a growing local consumer base that is health conscious. So our foreign markets are becoming health conscious according to a survey conducted. Moreover, the 3 countries are also amongst the top importers of our country's blueberries. So since they are importing blueberries from our country, Mole is saying, we can simply end up selling infused teas to them. Okay. So meeting minutes are provided, and Tan Pale is commenting, if we are to go ahead with a herbal tea catering if we are to go ahead with a herbal tea catering to local consumers, we would need to provide training to our account managers as it has been a long time since piping actually had to pitch a new product to existing retailers. So Tan Pale is saying, before we introduce anything to the market, we have to debrief our existing account managers, and on top of that we have to provide training to them, because we are introducing a new product to the market after a long time. Actually speaking, aligning taking information from the pre-scene, it's been 5 years since we introduced a new product to the market. Okay, so our account managers will definitely have to go through training before we end up introducing this new product to the market. It has to be done very tactfully and with only selected retailers. I would prefer having a cross-functional team for a couple of weeks from operations, finance, and product development departments. So in order to carry out this training process, Tan Pale is suggesting that we create a cross-functional team which comprises of individuals coming from the operations department, finance department, and product development department. Okay, so this is all the information provided about the new infused tea range which we are pondering about introducing to international markets. So what's the question? You are supposed to explain the key business and operational risks of the mission infusion herbal tea operation. So as I highlighted earlier, we are introducing a new product to the market after 5 years. So in such a context, what are the business and operational risks which our company is gonna face? So that's the first part of your question. And the second part of your question is, you are supposed to make suggestions to overcome each of these risks. So you are supposed to highlight the business and operational risks of the new venture, and you are supposed to provide solutions for each of the risks which you have highlighted in your answer as well. So let's try to figure out what type of an answer you are supposed to provide. Right. So first things first, as I told you earlier, you need to come up with an answer plan. So I said you're not supposed to read the question and straight away start typing the answer. Instead, you are supposed to spend some time to plan the answer. And I said it's beneficial if you can spend something like 15 to 20 minutes per task to plan your answer. So 1/3 of your time to read the question and plan your answers. And this is a typical answer plan which you need to come up with. So, I've come up with an answer plan so that you can easily understand what I'm talking about. Okay. So first things first, you read the question. I did that. Second step is to plot out the main headings. Okay. So that's exactly what you see here. I've plotted out the main heading, which is potential business and operational risks and how they could be overcome. So these are the 2 tasks highlighted in the question. You are supposed to explain the key business and operational risks and make suggestions to overcome each risk. That's exactly what is mentioned here, potential business and operational risks and how they can be overcome. So you come up with the main heading. It's in bold and underlined format. That's that. Then think about the time allocation and mark allocation. So it says in the question for subtask A, weightage of 60% is provided. So 60% of your total time is 27 minutes, and 60% of your total mark allocation out of 37.5 marks, you are supposed to allocate 23 marks. You will be getting 23 marks for this answer. So once you know this, you know what type of points you are supposed to bring out in order to gain marks in your exam. Okay, and what type of the time allocation you need to think about when coming up with your answer for subtask A. Right. So first things first, I'm starting with business risks. Okay. Risk number one, premature entry into the market. Yes. So we have not dealt with this market previously. We don't have any experience in this market. And I feel that based on what is provided in the reference material, no mention is made about the demand for infused tea within the three countries in which we are going to sell it: Eastlandia, Westlandia, and Southlandia. All the information is provided pertaining to these consumers in these three countries being health conscious, and the consumers of these countries are being the top consumers of our blueberries. Although this is the case, no information is provided about the demand for infused teas or the attitude towards infused teas within these three markets. Okay, so I'm saying that it's a business risk. Without proper information, without carrying out proper market research, without having knowledge about the demand for infused teas in these three markets, we are going to enter into the market. So that's a risk, premature entry to the market. So how can we mitigate these risks? This risk, we have to conduct market research appropriately. We have to conduct additional market research. And on top of that, when carrying out market research, it's better if we can seek feedback from local consumers based in these three countries. So it's better to conduct a feedback survey and try to determine the attitude or the demand towards infused teas within these three countries. So that's how you get rid of the first risk. The second business risk is reputational risk if claims pertaining to health benefits are disputed, which exposes us to reputational issues. Yes, so certain claims are made pertaining to antioxidants being helping consumers to fight diseases, protecting consumers against stress, as well as lowering the risk of chronic disease. All these things are just assumptions. They are not proven. So if you end up using these product information in your marketing campaigns, then that exposes you to reputational risks. So how can we mitigate these reputational risks? Ensure product information is accurate and not misleading. So first things first, that's what we need to do. We need to stipulate that our product information is accurate and not misleading. And the marketing team should be made responsible when carrying out promotions, because we have our own marketing department. We have capable individuals. Our marketing department knows what it can do and what it cannot do, what type of promotions, what type of information they can highlight in promotions, and what type of information should not be highlighted when carrying out promotions. So it's better to let our marketing team handle it. And if we stick to this process, if we do not provide inaccurate and misleading information, we can avoid penalties, avoid legal battles, and overcome issues with probable reputational effects. Okay, so that's that. These are the business risks. Then I'm moving on to the operational risks. Risk of procurement of quality ingredients. So if we are going ahead with this initiative, we need different types of fruit, because these are flavor infused teas. So we need access to different types of high quality fruit ingredients. So procurement of quality ingredients that might not be achievable. So that's a risk. How can we mitigate this risk? We need to do a supply evaluation. before selecting a supplier, we have to thoroughly figure out whether the supply is aligned with our ethos, whether the supplier believes in quality as like just like we do, okay, and whatnot. So supply evaluation and set inventory management policies, because we are going to deal with perishable goods, because we need fruit and fruit is perishable. So in such a context, we are going to deal with totally new type of inventory. So we need to set inventory management policies within our company. And the second operational risk is current tea tasters' ability to develop herbal tea blends, because we are not, developing these blends at the moment. So before we sell it to the market, we have to work with our tea tasters to figure out or come up with a unique blend which can be used forever. Okay, so current tea tasters might not have the ability to develop herbal tea brands, so tea blends, because last time we did it, it was 5 years back. We do not know whether the tea blenders or tasters who were working 5 years back are still employed within the company. So this is an operational risk which pops in my mind. So how can you mitigate these risks? You can recruit new tea tasters with the required experience, or we can train existing tea tasters. But when it comes to training, it takes some time. So I'm not too sure about whether we have enough time to spend on training, because as per the information provided, we are going to introduce this product to the market within the coming 2 weeks. Okay, right. So based on that, what type of an answer you are supposed to provide? Answer is, as I told you earlier, you need to use your paragraphs as well as headings appropriately. So the main heading I've underlined and used the bold format, and the subheadings are just in the bold format. So I've highlighted these things here, and when looking at the answer points which I've brought out, for each answer point I've come up with a paragraph. So when you provide answers in paragraphs, you are adhering to the requirements provided by the examiner, and on top of that, it makes the invigilator's life easier for him or her to allocate marks. Then you will end up getting 2 or 3 additional marks, because the invigilator has a positive attitude towards the type of answers you have provided. So so I said you need to come up with an answer plan, which is the structure of your entire answer, or the skeleton of your answer. So I said, when coming up with the answer plan, it needs to be concise and precise. And after coming up with the answer plan, try to figure out whether you had fulfilled the requirements. What were the requirements? Highlighting the potential business and operational risks. Yes, we have highlighted business and operational risks and how they could be overcome. So we have highlighted mitigatory action as well, risk mitigatory action. So once we know that we had fulfilled the requirements of the task, then you can start typing your answers. Potential business and operational risks of mission infusion and how they could be overcome. First things first, let's look at business risks. Prematurely entering the market. That's what I highlighted in here. Premature entry into the market. So what can we do to mitigate this issue? Carrying out market research. When carrying out market research, it's better if we can get feedback from local consumers. Okay. Prematurely entering the market. Mole seems to have based this initiative largely on the premise that the market in the 3 countries is highly health conscious, and that they import fruit from North India, that I highlighted previously. There needs to be more definite and conclusive information to prove herbal tea would become a popular product. So in order for us to gain this information, we have to conduct market research, um, uh, conducted through various means, such as conducting an insightful feedback survey from a selected group of local consumers will likely give us a clearer picture on the potential market for herbal teas. So as I've mentioned on my answer plan, rather than saying that we need to spend money on market research, I'm telling specifically how we are supposed to do it. I've said, when conducting market research, it's better if we can do a feedback survey based market research, thereby gaining feedback about the demand or the attitude towards infused teas within these 3 markets. Okay. Then we are moving on to the second risk, claiming furthermore, the claim in the attachment that antioxidants are vitamins found in herbal teas are great for helping fight disease and infections, protect against oxidative stress, and lower the risk of chronic disease, run a high risk of breaching the law. So how do we know that if we claim this, we are breaching the law? It was highlighted in the pre-scene. So you need to bring in your knowledge from the pre-scene document. So I suggest you to go through the second webinar where I highlighted this point again and again, as these claims have not been scientifically proven. And if we go to town with this information, there's a serious risk of reputational damage as well. That's what I've highlighted in my answer plan. Reputational risk if we claim that the infused teas will have health benefits. So what are we supposed to do to get rid of these reputational risks, to overcome these issues? In any of our advertising or promotions involved with the new herbal teas, we need to ensure that any of our advertising or promotions involved with the new herbal teas do not give out misleading information. Our marketing and advertising teams can design campaigns and work along with relevant authorities. We have to minimize the risk of having to get into legal battles, paying heavy penalties, or damaging our brand reputation. These were the points which I've highlighted on my answer plan. Then let's move on to the operational risks. Operational risk number one is issues related to material quality. Firstly, if we are unable to source quality fruits or herbs from a reliable supplier, it will negatively impact on our overall product portfolio. The risk associated with inventory holding of fruits, I said there's a risk of inventory holding as well, and we need to come up with better inventory management policies which are applicable to the new type of fruit or the herbs which we are going to use. So the risk associated with inventory holding of fruits or herbs could also have serious implications such as contamination, as the storage and preservation of commodities like ginger are likely to be vastly different to that of storing or holding tea leaves. Yes, so we are going to deal with totally different types of ingredients. So in such a context, there could be issues pertaining to inventory management. So how can we overcome these issues? We have to conduct a study to initially establish whether it would be operationally, financially, and socially feasible to store and handle herbal blends within our existing facilities. So we need to figure out whether our existing facilities can be used for these type of storages. We might, since we are, involving ourselves with fruit as well as herbs, we might have to refrigerate our warehouses, because at the moment we need not do that, because you can hold tea for long periods of time without refrigerating them. But when we are dealing with fruit and herbs, we might have to change it. This would need to be done in close tandem with factory and other staff directly involved in the production process. So when doing this, we have to involve everybody from the production process, because they are the people with the necessary understanding about inventories and production processes. Then the next risk is tea tasters not having the expertise, skills, or experience to work with herbal infused teas. And then there is a high risk of inconsistency in terms of flavoring if our tea tasters are not too experienced about the new product category which we are going to give out to the market. How to overcome this? Hiring new tasters who have experience working with infused beverages, or else provide relevant training and support to our existing tasters. That's exactly what I highlighted in my answer plan. Okay, so you saw what I did. Since we have taken too much of time, I'm not going to take you through the entire mini mock. I suggest now you know the technique which you need to adhere to. So I suggest you do it on your own. Try to figure out how you do your answer plans, and remember, you need to practice this methodology. You can't just walk into the exam and do it for the first time. Okay, because you need some, this is a totally new type of a scenario. This could be a totally new type of a scenario for you, because most students, as I highlighted, what they do is they just read the question and straight away start typing answers. So this is totally different to that approach. You are supposed to spend 15 to 20 minutes with regards to reading and coming up with an answer plan. So you need to get accustomed to this new system. if you adhere to this system, the quality of your answers will significantly improve. So that's exactly why I said, when attempting your mock exams, if you are attempting 5 mock exams, you need to do this when attempting each and every task. So in one paper you would get 4 tasks. 4 tasks into 5 papers comes up to 20 tasks in total. So if you attempt 5 mock exams, and if you come up with 5 answer plans for each mock exam, it's as if you are preparing 20 answer plans. Okay, so that's enough practice for you to come up with appropriate answer plans in the real exam. And once you have the skeleton, it's pretty easy to flesh out the skeleton or start typing fully fledged answers. And I've come up with an answer plan for subtask B as well. In subtask B, the the weightage provided is 40%. So 15 marks are allocated, and you are supposed to take 18 minutes. And based on that, I've come up with a concise answer plan. And based on this answer plan, what I've done is, again, for the subtask, I said you need to come up with a main heading. So this heading is in bold and underlined format, and I've used paragraphs, and these paragraphs are not too long. For each and every for each and every answer point which I've highlighted, I've come up with separate paragraphs. And on top of that, where I've used main subheadings as well, and the subheadings are in bold format. Okay, so that's exactly what you need to adhere to. So I would suggest you to go through our website. So I'm going to take you to our website. So just go to our website and click on the MCS page. Okay, then you can click here to access free content, and via the free content, you will have access to the recorded videos of these 3 webinars, webinar number 1 to 3. And on top of that, you will gain access to the mini mock exam which we discussed tonight. Okay, and there's you'd gain access to pre-seen video as well. So going through these, I suggest you to go through these mini mocks, and on top of that, mini mocks as well as the free content provided. And if you are interested in purchasing our products, you can do it as well. So let me take you through the type of personalized feedback which we provide. So we provide feedback on a paragraph by paragraph basis. So these are the feedback which our lead tutors has provided. So as you can see, the student had written just one single answer, one-lined answer, but our feedback goes on to 2 paragraphs. Okay, so that's how comprehensive our feedback is. So for each paragraph, we provide feedback, and at the very end, we give a mark breakdown as well, so that the student is in a position to figure out which areas they need to polish up. And at the very end, we provide a general comment as well, a set of general comments which will help you extremely when it comes to preparing for your exam. And I said, I asked you to go through the blog posts. So, there are several different blog posts. So I urge you to go through all these things because it's gonna benefit you immensely at your real examination. Okay, so let me take you back to the MCS page. So click here to access free content, and on top of that, our pass rates are stipulated. Our pass rate is 81% for the previous session, which happened in February. And you can gain all product information about what we offer under the essential pack. You can simply click on this button and purchase the product directly, because you can make payments through via your credit or debit cards through our payment gateway. And you can go through the FAQs. Under the FAQs, we have provided samples of all material which we provide. So before you purchase, you know what your what type of content you're getting your hands on. And the same could be said about the value pack as well. And the FAQs are there. And so that's that. So I urge you to go through our website, at least to go through the free content. Then yeah, so that's it. That before winding up, I just want to know whether there are any questions. Any questions, folks? I'm going to pause the recording. All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So thank you very much, guys, for raising your concerns. Right, so you can contact us via our website or email, or simply drop us a WhatsApp message. If you're not part of our WhatsApp group, MCS WhatsApp group, I'll be sending out an email tomorrow. So I'll share the link with you guys. So, join our WhatsApp group, because then you can share your knowledge with your colleagues. And on top of that, we are part and parcel, the main tutors. 3 lead tutors of TCS are part and parcel of the group. So if there are any syllabus related doubts, or any doubts pertaining to the MCS examination, you can raise your concerns, and we are more than happy to provide, help you guys overcome the issues. Then you can follow us on our social media handles. Especially, I would want you to go to our YouTube channel, where we upload all our relevant videos for each and every MCS or any case study session. And if you like, you can subscribe to our channel, and go through our blog posts via our website as well, because there's extremely important information highlighted within our blog posts. Okay, so having said that, it brings us to the end of the third and final video conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming management case study examinations. So I hope that these sessions were of some benefit for you. And if you missed out on the webinar, any of the webinars, I urge you to go to our website, go through the free content tab, and listen to these webinars in full. So thank you very much for joining in, guys. I wish you all the best in the upcoming MCS examination. See you and good night.